Hi everyone, I thought that I would make a video about how I organize my PhD. So many people think that I am very organized, but really I think that organization just comes down to having a system and sticking with it. So you may watch this video and it may not be for you, but I think that if you find something that works for you, you should do it. And this is what works for me, it may not work for you. And that is the most important thing about having an organization system, I think, is having something that allows you to find what you need quickly. It doesn't matter how fancy it is or how pretty it is. If you can't find things quickly, then your organization system isn't working for you. I am very new to filming videos for YouTube, but my first video had such success that I feel like I should start trying to make some more. So firstly, I thought I would talk about note-taking, particularly note-taking for meetings and seminars or workshops that you go to. So I got this idea from Twitter. It's not my idea, but it's called an everything book. So originally I started with a small book like this, filled it up, and then I moved on to this one. And now I have an A4 version of this book. So this one is A5. But I did actually change to A4. Just found that the A5 pages weren't working for me as well as A4 was. So I switched, but it's at my office and it's not here right now. But you get the idea, and it translates across the size. It doesn't matter whether it's A4 or A5. So I'll show you this one. So the idea is that everything you take notes on goes into this book. So when I take notes, I don't mean academic articles. I don't put them into this book. I put those into an electronic file. As for me, I didn't need to write things down necessarily. I wanted them to be in my Scrivener, which I'll come to later. So the biggest thing, I guess, here for you is to decide what size book you want if you're going to do this, and whether you put literally everything in it. So that would include writing about readings and things like that, or if you just want it to be a collection of notes about meetings or workshops. I found that in workshops, if I have my computer open, it's quite distracting for me. I just find it so tempting to just quickly check my emails or quickly open my thesis chapter and continue working on it as the presenter is speaking. So for me, it's really important that I have something that I can handwrite on rather than on the screen. So in this, it is lots of different things. So I have, and also I was writing handwritten notes of books that I had read. So in this one, there's books that I've read, and random little notes as well. So occasionally I would be leaving post-it notes to myself of things to do, readings that I wanted to get from the library, and just random little things like that. Also, sometimes I would write notes in preparation for meetings. So in here, there is some notes on different theoretical perspectives, because this one is from my first year of my PhD. So notes on different theoretical perspectives that I wanted to talk to my supervisors about, and I wanted to come prepared a little bit in the meeting. So I had written down things that I thought I would like to remember in the meeting, and it was really good to just be able to open the book and reread them and know that I still felt confident about it because my own little summary was there. And as I did say, I did put meeting notes in here as well. So basically everything went in here: workshops, meetings, and little random preparation notes for myself. And you may notice the top here and the side has all these little tabs. So this is a really great way to organize yourself. These were quite cheap. I think I found them in like clearance bin at Officeworks. And they all have what different things are on them. So there's one that says ontology and epistemology, and I can just like put my finger in and open to that page. And on that page, I have a little reminder about ontology and epistemology, about what they mean, and what ontology and epistemology I think that I follow. Then there's also, say, up here there's meeting January 17th. So this would have been right from the start of my PhD, or about midway through my PhD. And I literally just have handwritten scroll on there. So it's not neat, it's not tidy, it's just something where I know if I pick up this book, and obviously I have a date written on it, late November 2017 to mid-March 2018. So I know that if I pick up this book, I can find my meeting notes from these dates, and then this was the next one that continued on. So some people, they choose to do a table of contents once they're done, but I find these little tab notes to be really effective, and I don't need a table of contents if I have these little tab notes. And that is something you can do once you're done, or you can do it as you go throughout the book. And I did switch to an A4 book because I find it much easier in terms of length. I'm not switching between them. I've just had one since I've been moved onto it. Yeah. So that is my notes books for random things that don't necessarily relate to the chapters of your PhD. Like, they're not reading notes, but they are random notes. All right, another thing that people always seem to ask me is how to keep on top of to-do lists. So I have tried many different things. I've tried writing them down on pads and crossing them off. I've tried keeping electronic to-do lists, many different types. So in the beginning of my PhD, I felt like I had this overwhelming list of readings, topics to investigate, things to do. Every supervision meeting, it was brilliant, but my supervisors were always like, you should be reading this, have you thought about this, you know, goes on for so long. And it was wonderful because it was giving me all these new resources that I could investigate, but it was also incredibly overwhelming to try and remember if I had done these things. So I came up with this, well, I'm pretty sure I saw it online. It's like a visual to do. So I'll probably insert a picture here if I can figure that out. I'm still figuring out video editing software. And I use real post-it notes for this. So you can get post-it note brand, or you can just get plain ones that come cheaply from wherever. I found that these cheap ones, they don't stick on anything. So they're good for taking notes just to quickly use. But if you want to use something long term and have it actually stick to things, the post-it note brand I found was the best. And one trick I'll just quickly show you before we get onto it is, so rather than peeling your notes like this, like just tearing off, like we probably all do, which creates a curl, what you should do is, this is where the glue is, you should be peeling, I'm trying to figure out how to do this on camera, you should be peeling sideways. So see how I'm peeling, this is the glue, I'm peeling that way, I'm not peeling that way. I'm really not good at this, but if you Google it, there's lots of people explaining it. So this creates much less of a curl. So this is the one that I just did without tearing off roughly. And this is the one that I did carefully. Very important. It sounds so silly, but it's such a integral part of your post-it note staying on. So what I did in the beginning of my PhD is I would come away from every meeting or every sort of internet search, have a long list of things to do, maybe books to read, things like that. So what I did was I would make sure I had all of the articles saved and printed, which I don't really do anymore, but now they're all saved. And I would, for books and topics or things to think about, things to do, I would use a visual post-it note wall. So what you do is you get your post-it notes and along your wall, you'll have a heading that says like to do, and then like in progress and complete. So you have 3 categories, and I found that these 3 categories worked the best for me. So everything that came out of my meetings, I would write it on a post-it note and put it on the to-do section. So then the to-do section builds up quite a bit, but it allows you to see what you need to do. You can quickly look at your wall and go, okay, I have this many tasks, I might do this week. And then once you have your to-do list. It's always growing and evolving, of course. I generally used to pick 3 things that would be in progress. This meant that I wasn't overwhelming myself trying to do too much at once. But it meant that as well, by having 3 different things, I could switch topics whenever I was getting fatigued in one certain topic or area. And then once you are done with the task, so these things could be as simple as work on the edits from the feedback I was given, or read this book, read this, or look up X. I would move them to the complete. And obviously your complete section does grow, and it's awesome to see that. And I think it's a really motivating thing, especially in the first year of your PhD. You feel like you've gotten nowhere because there's no real outputs, especially in Australia. All you really have is your confirmation document. You don't really, and before you write your confirmation document, you don't really have anything. Whereas a post-it note wall really allows you to see the progress you have made. So that is how I managed my to-do list in the first couple of months of my PhD. First year and a half really. After that, it sort of became not as motivating to have my post-it note wall, because when you're writing chapter, say if you put write section X on your wall and then you move it, that's not the last time you're going to write section X. And I just found it really not motivating for me. So I actually did switch to a list in a book, a dedicated to-do list book, so I couldn't lose it. And I would put in like action feedback on this chapter sent on this date, or add this to this section, because I just found that my tasks were becoming much more high level, but also much more focused on my PhD. There wasn't as much to remember. So yeah, I have still a dedicated book for that to-do list. And if you are going to do a to-do list that is on paper, it's really important. I suggest use a different book from your everything book and have one book. That way you're not losing your to-do list. You can tick it off, or I like to cross it out with a ruler. You can do multiple things, and I think it just makes it easier to find your list. And let's be honest, a to-do list is only good if you can find your list. And I know that is probably one of people's biggest problems, is you might write your to-do list on a scrap of paper and then you lose it. And again, having a to-do list on paper that you cross off also really enables you to see how far you've come. And I think that is really important when you're doing a PhD. It's such a long process that you can actually see your progress and how far you've come. Another thing with organization is, as I said at the beginning, it's having a system, meaning you can find things easily and quickly. So a little disclaimer here, my system for this has changed over time. I sort of realized that physical printing wasn't working, mainly because I had overseas field work, which meant that I couldn't take my readings with me. So I have a system for taking notes and reading articles, which involves in vivo, which is probably why you're watching this video, because I have an in vivo video about literature reviews. So in tandem with my in vivo file, I have a Scrivener file, which I write notes in and all of those sorts of things. But when I first started my PhD, I was printing every article that I had. So this is just one of many magazine files of articles that I printed in the beginning of my PhD. So to begin with, it was very important for me to print articles, as I wasn't used to reading on a screen. But over time, it's a big environmental cost of printing lots and lots of different pieces of paper. It's sort of an allergen factor as well, because they just collect dust. And as I said, I had to do overseas field work, and it was really impractical. I couldn't take them with me. Obviously, I have my in vivo file, which is electronic, so that does save some things. But I would say over time, I just adapted, and I began to be able to read on a screen and not on paper. So I don't print articles anymore, and I don't find a use for it. But when I was printing articles, this is the method I used. And again, this is not my idea, it's someone else's. So I have a magazine file, and I have, I think, about 8 of these, potentially more. And I sort them into categories. So this one is methods, analysis, and transcription. So all of my printed articles on methods, analysis, and transcription are in here. And you may notice that they have, it's sort of hard to see in the light, but they have little tags on each one of them. So these don't have to be expensive. I don't buy the post-it note ones. Originally, I bought these ones from our campus store, and they were maybe $5 for a 50 pack, so will last you a long time. But then I found these ones at Kmart, and they're $2 for 120. So there's actually 2 other colors that are usually on here. So they just peel off really easily, and I found them to be really versatile with sticking. Cheap, functional, and that's all we need. So what I do is I have my different magazine files for each topic, as I said, and then within them all of the articles are arranged alphabetically. And for ease of finding things, I have my little name tab on the side. So on that, the little tag, I write the author's name and the year. These blue ones are obviously quite small, so I usually do that for 1 or 2 authors, and my Kmart ones I use for say 3 or more, just because their names don't fit often on the little ones. So it's super easy. I just put it on the side, and I usually do it corresponding to where the alphabet is. So this is A, so it's sort of at the top, but say one that is W, W is down the bottom. And as you can see, when I was printing, I was highlighting, sometimes writing notes, and it did help me at the time, but I just don't need it anymore. So that is a way of organizing printed articles if that is something that you need. Magazine files, these again don't need to be expensive. If you're in Australia, Kmart has really cheap ones, and little tabs on the side to tell you the author. If you organize them by subject, it makes it even easier, but the alphabetization also helps. So you could just sort them alphabetically if that was what you wanted as well. All right, so articles, keeping on top of reading. That is the golden question. How do we do it? I will just say I don't actually have any solutions, and I'm still working on that myself. As I said earlier, one of the things that I did in the start of my PhD was to print every article I wanted to read. This is a bit of a waste of time. Sometimes there's duplicates. It's not a perfect system in any form. So when I started to transition to more paperless, I actually started saving articles in folders by topic. This is a nightmare, I will say, because you can save so many PDFs and never ever get to them. But what I do is I save them by author name, and yeah, that means that if I am looking for an article, I can just search for it in my computer and it comes up. And it also means that I can see if I've already tried to save this article, which was a problem with my printed version, is I would print articles, and sometimes I would print them and then 2 weeks later I would print the same one without realizing. So saving them in designated folders under the author's name and year does stop you from saving duplicates, but it doesn't actually make you read them. So if anybody does have any tips on how they organize reading lists and to-do lists of reading, I would love to hear it. I actually don't have any solutions to this one though. I thought I would just talk about it because it's probably a question that would come up, is you have all of these articles once you've read them and they're sorted and they're organized, but how do you do it first before you actually read them? I have no clue. The only thing that I have been doing is I've been saving them in the folders, like I just said, and then Mac computers, actually you can color code files, and so I do color code them purple once they're red. That way I can see in a folder how much is left to read, which does help, but it's not perfect either. So any solutions, I would love to hear them. Okay, let's talk email management. I think this is also a key element of being organized, and I don't have any fancy tips for you or anything like that beyond the thing that I use is called zero inboxing. So zero inboxing means that everything in your inbox is a to-do list. So any emails that are done or actioned, they go into a folder that is assigned specifically for them. This requires upkeep, obviously, but it really, really helps because it means that if I think, oh, someone sent me an email 2 months ago about this topic, but I can't remember who it was or any keywords, which would it happens more than you would think actually. I can just go to the folder related to that person or to that thing and have a look at the dates and try and figure out where that email is. Particularly because on Outlook for Mac, the search function does not like me. I think it's been updated recently, but I had heaps of problems with it to begin with. I could never search for anything. Even keywords that I knew existed in emails wouldn't show up. I don't know why. So what I do is I zero inbox, which means if I get an email, I just immediately assign it to a folder or reply to it and then assign it to a folder, or I keep it in my inbox until it's actioned. So if there's things like a research training workshop that I want to go to, that email will stay in my inbox until I have it booked, and then I will put that email in the research training folder that I have. So that folder includes all of the emails that come from my school level, my faculty level, and the university level. That way I can quickly go back if I've been thinking about a workshop and I decide, oh, actually, I thought I didn't want to go, but it's been on my mind for a while now. I can just go to my research training folder and quickly find the link to the workshop. As opposed to if I wasn't zero inboxing and I wasn't sorting my emails in any manner, I might have to go back who knows how many emails, 100 emails, I don't know. And that's just such a waste of your time. And it also allows you to sort of figure out what things aren't serving you. So I also have my personal emails come into my inbox, and they're zero inboxed as well. And when you start doing this, you realize that you get a lot of advertising in your inbox, and this just allows you to unsubscribe from them. You don't need them. So I unsubscribe from a lot of things doing this, and I can really easily find emails. I'm no expert on zero inboxing, but I'm sure there's lots of videos out there. But I think with email, some of the most important things that you will get in your PhD come via email. So reminders to enroll, they will come via email. Our building actually recently closed and we all had to move offices, and literally every single piece of information about that office closure came through my inbox. And if you're not on top of your inbox and you have 100 unread emails and you're not sure even where to begin, you know that there's things you're missing, it's probably a sign that you need to try something else beyond what you're doing. So if you have 3,000 unread emails, what you just do now is put them into a folder marked from whatever month it is. So it's January 2021 right now. So I would just go everything prior to January 21 and just put that, all of them, into that folder. You don't have to worry about it, and you can start from zero with your inbox, start from zero for your zero inboxing. From there, make sure you action every email that comes into your inbox. It's the simplest way to keep on top of your emails, but it does take a little work. But you'll get there. It just takes practice. And I guarantee after this, you will never ever miss an important email, and you'll never ever ever forget to reply to someone's email, because you only move it into a folder once you have replied or actioned it. So that's my tip for staying on top of your emails, and it is one of the most important things, I think, especially in post-COVID world. Email is probably one of the main ways your supervisors are communicating with you. So it's really important that you're on top of it. It's one of the ways that you can look professional as a student, is by being on top of your email and always replying to emails that need replies. It's just one of those things. As PhD students, we're in that awkward in-between between student and staff, but I really think that this is one of those things that you need to act like a staff member. You need to be on top of your emails. I could rant about emails and organization of emails all day, but I will say zero inboxing is one of the best ways to stay on top of it. So in the interest of keeping this video short, I've actually decided not to talk about Scrivener. I have mentioned it throughout, I apologize for that, but I do have a blog post on how I use Scrivener, EndNote and NVivo together for my PhD. So if you're interested in that, please check out my blog. And also comment below if you want to see a video about Scrivener, and I will walk you through it. But right now, I think that this is a good place to stop. I think that I've gone in depth some organizing tips and the ways that I stay organized. And that's about it really. If there is something you'd like to see a video on, please comment below, as I don't really know how I got my 65 subscribers. So I want to do what videos you want to see, and let me know in the comments below. Thank you.